Hi, this is Mark at 914 Rubber, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about steering racks. I've got this steering rack that Ian Karr has sent in for me here that we're going to do a rebuild on. We'll go over a little bit about what we do to actually remanufacture these, as well as some of the differences in the steering racks. I'm sure you've got quite a few questions on those, and there's a reason that we hadn't been selling these as kits, and we'll go over a little bit of that today. I want to give you a little idea of some of the different types of racks that we get in here and the condition that they come in. These are a few of them. You can see there's a little bit of oxidation on the casting itself. This is probably one of the worst ones right here, and this really isn't that bad. This cleans up. It just takes quite a bit of vapor honing to be able to get that to look like a original casting, but it's something we can do. We also see stuff like this where someone's tried to remove the eye bolt and has decided to cut it off at one point in time with what looks like a Sawzall and mangled it up fairly well. So we wind up having to replace some things here and there. We do have a few of the replacement parts. A couple of these we don't make, but they are commercially available. But this just gives you a little bit idea about some of the conditions that you'll see these racks come to us in. So this is Ian's steering rack that he sent in to us. All in all, it's a fairly clean rack taking a look at it. We've got many that have undercoating sprayed on them and all sorts of crud. So this one should clean up fairly easily. Taking a look at it, you might note that there are two different cover plates to access the core of the rack itself. One of them on the bottom here is where the bearing is accessed, and then the other one in the front is the drag puck access area. So you'll note that taking a look at the bar itself, it's in pretty good shape. It tends to spin freely. There's not too much scoring on the rack itself, but you can see as we get to the end here a little bit that there is a little bit of mar from where the drag puck has been dragging on the unit itself. I'd suspect that this one has metal and contact on it, and it looks like it hasn't done any damage to it at this point, so this should clean up pretty nicely. Something I wanted to note with Ian's rack here is both of the steering rack access panels were missing the seals that were on them, so somebody's actually been in here previously. All in all, the bearings look like they're in pretty good shape there, but we're going to go ahead and replace all that anyhow. But I wanted to show you that there's technically supposed to be a seal on both of these access ports, so somebody has opened these up. It might have been quite a while since they've done it, but somebody had been in there, and as I suspected, there was some steel on steel going on there, and that's not too unusual. This particular drag puck is set up for this type of application. This is a hardened steel piece, and what we're going to do is just polish it up and make sure that it holds its spec. And there's also some shims that are in here that we use to be able to set the correct tension on that. So I wanted to show you a little bit about what this looks like when it's polished up. It goes in stages. So initially it looks more like this. As we get down there, you can see the second stage right here, and then there's the polish phase right there. But this is typically what our steering racks look like, and this is why we use the white lithium grease, is because it allows us to be able to make sure that it's 100% clean and you can see any imperfections. Okay, we've got everything apart now and cleaned up. You'll notice the casing is all nice and pretty here. It's not especially shiny. What we want to do is basically make it look like it is the original part that came right off the production line that went in there. So we vapor honed the casting, and then we went ahead and resealed it with a silicone. It's a penetrating silicone that's used in commercial applications, mainly to impregnate the metal to keep it from oxidizing. And in this application, that works really well. We've also went ahead and we've cleaned out the inside of the casing, so it is completely free of any dirt, grease, debris, and any of that. So we finished also polishing the rack and the pinion, and as you can tell, they've actually turned out quite nicely right here. There's no wear on these. You can see a little bit of color change there from a little bit of wear, but there's nothing there that's actually really measurable. It's very, very small. Anyhow, we've went ahead and taken the liberty of, when we actually make the bushings, there are over 4 different types of bushings that are available for the steering racks, even though they all are relatively interchangeable. So we've made all the different variations we found so far, and when we make them so that they're very, very, very tight when you go to put them on. One of the things we do is we actually hone these so that they fit perfectly. I've went ahead and pre-honed that one so you'd be able to see exactly how that works. That's another one of the reasons that we weren't able to really do these as a kit, is because there is a little bit of variation in between these, and we want our tolerances to be tight enough that they're not going to have any slop whatsoever in these things. One of the problems with that is when we go to align the rod inside the casing, it also means that they must be perfectly aligned. So a lot of people, or at least the feedback that we had from a couple of people that we actually did kits for, was that the bushings were not the right size, they didn't fit, and so not understanding exactly what was required to make these work makes it a little bit more difficult in doing an assembly with a kit with these. So there is a lot of work that goes into these, from the cleaning to the polishing to the honing to making everything fit. So we've got our bearings ready to go, and as you can tell, we've already had some parts that have been pre-plated and ready to go. These are the gaskets that are actually missing from the original inspection plates that gave us the first clue that they were it had been cracked open. Another thing that's also difficult with these is that there's over 5 different types of drag pucks that are available for these, and depending upon which one you have, you're going to need one specific for your application. If you don't, you're going to not be able to get the correct tension on the actual unit itself. So that's another reason we've started making these, and we're coming across, well, we haven't come across any new ones for a while, but we suspect there could be a few others out there. So that makes it a little more difficult in being able to rebuild these. So Ian, we've got your steering rack completed here. It's all put together, nice and cleaned up and ready to go. We're going to go ahead and box this up for you. We've set the tension with the drag puck correctly on it. We had to change a few shims out to get it right for you. This should be a nice addition to your completely restored car there when you're done. Don't know what more to tell you. Just enjoy, and I don't know if you want to put this in there or not, but one of the things that we also do is we take pictures of our steering racks before they go out the door, and we also mark these with little pieces of, or little bits of paint, so that we can tell exactly if the racks have been broken into. We had a customer tell us that our rack had failed after about 20 or 30 miles, and he sent the rack back to us so that we could take a look at it and see exactly why it had failed. And lo and behold, the paint had been broken and the drag puck had actually been removed from the steering unit. So after that, we decided we're just going to document everything that we do. So every customer we rebuild their steering rack, we document everything that goes out the door. It's for quality assurance, as well as making sure that you know, if there's anything going on, we're able to figure out exactly what that was. But yeah, the drag puck was completely missing from that unit. So enjoy, Ian, and thanks for everything.